Marathon is already turning out to be a major disaster for Bungie. The couple people who are actually giving this title's closed alpha a chance are not happy with things like the maps, the gunplay, or even the OP aim assist, and apparently they are very worried in regards to the backlash this title could face. But now players are even saying that Bungie needs to delay this or else it's going to be dead on arrival. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I really don't understand why companies do alphas at all anymore because they don't actually take our feedback into consideration. They don't really care about what their customers have to say as long as they believe that they are in the right and that, oh, eventually this method will pay off and maybe they will truly take feedback into consideration with Marathon, or else it's going to come out and be a total disaster. I don't think to the size of a Concord, but I definitely think that it is going to be a game that loses Bungie hundreds of millions of dollars if they don't change things quickly. So this article by Dexerto says Marathon players claim Bungie needs to delay it as alpha disappoints. Yeah, it really makes no sense that they thought that any of this was really going to work given the gameplay that we've seen. It didn't look good, and then the alpha came out and it disappointed. And I get that it's a closed alpha, right? So it's not like there's going to be millions and millions of people playing it. But as you can see, the all-time peak was under 7,000 people. And then the drop-off was drastic. I mean, it never got back over 3K. So they lost 50% of their alpha players in 24 hours, which is not a good look. If they can't even keep people around who were given free access, I don't know how they expect people to pay $40 for this. But it says Marathon's alpha launched to very mixed reception, with people who got to play it early having their fair share of likes and dislikes with the title, but many of the biggest creators who participated claim that it needs to be delayed. It's important to mention that Marathon's alpha is just that, an alpha. It's an early build of the game that isn't fully representative of the final product, but companies don't just put out alphas because they think, oh, well, it's still 5 years away. When they are releasing an alpha, typically it's because they're feeling pretty confident about the direction that it's headed in, and they think it's going to be done relatively soon. And, well, if this is what they think is going to get people to swipe their credit cards, they are sorely mistaken. It says, though Marathon's overall player count for this brief testing period isn't indicative of interest due to a fairly limited access alpha, its dramatic drop-off in the days since launch aren't exactly a good sign. Interest in Marathon is already waning for many who have access to it, and concerns have been raised by content creators who have played it that the game needs to be delayed out of 2025. I also think that the release period for this alpha was terrible for Bungie because not only did they face the Oblivion remastered Shadow Drop, but they also faced Expedition 33's release, which has blown away people's expectations. I mean, it is sold out worldwide. The physical editions are. There are millions of people who are buying it and playing it and just enjoying it and talking about it. So none of that really boded well for Bungie. But at the same time, you'd think that when you have a name like Marathon, it would have been able to garner a little bit more hype. It says, though, Marathon has already been delayed in the past with internal testing at Bungie, not being overly encouraging, according to reports from around its 2023 reveal. So we're talking about an alpha that's coming out mid-2025 when the game was already announced back in 2023. Never mind the years before that they were working on it. From there, the game went back into deep development to try and improve the title until they felt comfortable with a gameplay reveal. And well, even though they took that time and tried to improve the title, it doesn't really seem like many improvements have been made, and apparently they are terrified of this game failing. It says Bungie made a big change to the Marathon closed alpha because it was reportedly nervous about the backlash. Now, this has to do with its initial restrictive NDA. They did change that and they did get rid of that, but it was due to leadership being nervous about the mixed response to the gameplay reveal. So they were really hoping that they were going to be able to stay on people's good sides and that they were going to get a lot of people interested in it, but clearly that did not happen. happen, and we do know that the devs have backflipped now on the game's most controversial feature, which is good, but I still have no trust or faith in them. So it says, Marathon's most controversial feature, aim assist on PC for those using an M&K, is being removed already after developers came under fire for its inclusion. Yeah, I mean, if you suck at so much at a game that you need a feature to make you better at the game, you probably shouldn't be playing competitive games. I would understand if this was like, I don't know, a single player experience, right? What you are doing with your copy of your game doesn't affect anybody else. We're talking about extraction shooter here. You have to play with other people, so you'd think that a feature like this wouldn't have been put on the table at all. The studio, of course, behind Halo and Destiny, is trying its hand at an extraction shooter, but the early response hasn't been overly positive, with some even calling for a delay to overhaul core components. I don't think that this is going to be a failure as big as something like Concord, because that was the biggest in the history of the video game industry. It lost Sony hundreds of millions of dollars, but Sony is now facing hundreds of millions of dollars being lost on Marathon as well. Again, I feel like they're probably only putting like $200 or $300 million into this game compared to Concord's upwards of 500 million. Either way, though, it's definitely a chunk of change, and there's no fucking way that they're going to make money on this game unless they scrap it and they completely restart, which of course they don't want to do at this point in the development cycle. It says one issue has stood out from the pack as players on PC have been outspoken in their hatred for a particular feature. Now, after a week of immense backlash, devs are removing PC aim assist entirely. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Again, that shouldn't have been in the game in the first place. It was their choice to add it. And even though they're changing it, I still feel like there aren't going to be a lot of people praising this decision, because you have to think to yourself, how much are they actually going to tweak it after the alpha? You know, even though they're removing this aim assist, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of the other criticisms we have are going to be like taken into consideration. It says mouse magnetism, as it's referred to in the patch notes, is being removed alongside aim assist on PC. Furthermore, there will be no longer a setting to toggle it on or off, thus creating an uneven playing field to keep everyone on equal footing. The option will vanish from the settings menu altogether. There will be no PC players with magnetized aim landing shots they otherwise wouldn't have had. And moving forward, Marathon will function like any other FPS on PC, relying on your raw mouse input and gun skills to get the job done. So I definitely will be keeping my eye on Marathon going forward. I think that after this alpha ends in a few days, we're not going to hear anything for like a year except for a delay. It's supposed to come out sometime in 2025 at the end of the year. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that they are going to delay it. They're going to have to completely rehaul it, and I just don't think that the initial response to this has been positive enough for them to continue moving forward with it. I feel like they would be better off just shelving it and scrapping it. Of course, they've already dumped time and money into it, so they want to release it, but I just don't think that that's going to be a very positive situation for them. So I'll be keeping my eye on this game. If there's any other updates, I will let you guys know, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.